All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the Ramblin Gamblin MMA team. We're here for our weekly breakdown and discussion for the upcoming UFC 254 taking place on Saturday, October 24th on the beautiful Yaz Island in Abu Dhabi. We're coming to you here. You've got me hosting the show, Harrison, Aspiring Burner there on Twitter. You'll see all of our handles down below. We've got James, UFC Deluxe. We've got Zach and Jason from the Damage Plan MMA podcast. And we've got Maceo Vic, ASMR, Never Vaporeon there on Twitter. So we're going to get started right away and get to breaking down the fights for you we got coming up. So first on the list, we've got in the UFC lightweight division, to start off our early prelim card, Joel Alvarez versus Alexander Yakovlev.
Well, when you look at Joel Alvarez on paper, 17-2, 15 of those wins have come via submission, I believe, at the top of my head. So when you look at that stat jumps out and you know what to expect from Joel Alvarez on paper. Is a perfect submission artist. Where he's got Yakovlev, I believe he's coming down. I think he's fought Usman and Damian Maia a couple of times at welterweight. I think this is at 155, so he's dropping back down. He's the more experienced fighter on paper. You look at Yakovlev, he's very durable. He's a decent wrestler, can strike as well. But again, I think on this one, I'm probably going to lean towards Joel Alvarez in this one. I think he's just very superior on the mat in terms of his grappling. He gets the fight to the floor early on, and I genuinely see him submitting Yakovlev in the first round.
Yep, I agree. I like Joel Alvarez with this via submission as well. I was thinking maybe more the late first, early second round, but I really like seeing the young fighter here against an older veteran. But 36 versus 27 at the 155-pound weight class, 155 pounds, 170. Pretty much in down, you're looking at athletes and a different level of athlete and speed as well. And 36, you just don't move like a 27-year-old anymore. So I'll take the youth. And I also like that Joe Alvarez bounces back after, he's had 2 losses, and he bounces back well after those losses and goes on winning streaks. And he lost his UFC debut, but he's won his next 2, and I think he's going to go on a nice little run.
I feel like that was kind of a shot at me, Zach, for being over 36, like
straight shot.
Yeah, I'm all over Joe Alvarez. What really stood out to me in this matchup is both of these guys are huge for the lightweight division. These guys are both over 6 feet tall. Alvarez slick ground game. One thing to watch out for is Yakovlev. He's pretty slick on the ground too. So if it goes down on the ground, I mean, he could sneak in something there. Something to watch out for. I don't see it happening. I'm gonna ride with the young gun, and I'm gonna pick Alvarez, but don't sleep on Yakovlev on the ground either.
Yeah, we got the young dude Joel Alvarez going against the vet Alexander Yakovlev, who's definitely faced the better competition. He's got fights against Usman, he's got fights against Maia, Gray Maynard, Paul Daly. So he's been in there with better fighters than Joel Alvarez. But Joel Alvarez coming in here, he's got a nice reach advantage, nice low and front kicks, decent jab. And he really likes to utilize his jiu-jitsu. He'll throw up some triangles, darces, and guillotines, and that's really his path to victory, in my opinion, in this fight. So I think it's going to be a clean sweep. We all agree, Joel Alvarez. I think he's going to get him out of there with some form of submission. Yakovlev wants to fight on the ground. So, I mean, that's really plays into Joel Alvarez's game, in my opinion. So at some point, he's going to sub him, in my opinion.
All right, so it looks like that one's a sweep across the board there. I do want to point out that I believe this is the point where we noticed that the Damage Plan MMA podcast having a rule about never betting against Russian fighters seems to have evolved into more of a guideline at this point.
Guideline, yeah.
That's fair. It's fair.
All right, next up, in the UFC women's flyweight division, the second of 2 fights on our early prelims card for UFC 254, we've got Liana Chicha versus Miranda Maverick.
Certainly from my sort of opinion, I don't think this is the most favourable of matchups for Chicha, to say the least. I think Maverick, wherever the fight goes, I think she's the better striker on paper, and certainly from my sort of perspective, is by far the stronger wrestler. She's a couple of submission wins under her belt, and I think wherever the fight goes, I think Maverick will be able to hold her own against Chicha, and I genuinely see her getting the job done this weekend. I'm going to go for a 3rd round submission. Like I said, wherever the fight goes, I think Maverick will be comfortable in her own game, and she can mix it up very well throughout the fight, and she'll probably dominate for the first 2 rounds. leading on to the submission or a finish in the third round.
Yeah, Miranda Maverick has 5 first-round submission victories on her record, and I'm going to say this is going to be number 6. I think she makes it look easy. I think she takes it down to the ground, takes her back, and chokes her out in the first round.
That's a bold one there. This one, I mean, Jujana, how did you pronounce her name? How was her name? We'll just say Luana. Dude, she's got six out of her 8 wins have been by submission. She's a BJJ black belt. Like, don't sleep on this chick on the ground. The one thing about Maverick is her last fight, she was super impressive against Pearl Gonzalez and Invicta. She dominated the first round, but in the second round, she actually got taken down and actually got put in some bad spots. This is another one. I mean, I probably won't bet this one, but this is another one, man. Don't sleep on Liana on this one, because she does have a good ground game, and the longer this fight goes, the more in favor it is going to be for her. My pick would be Maverick to win, but like I said, if you're a betting guy, listen to this. Don't sleep on Liana.
That's why I said in the first round, the longer it goes, Jason.
I don't think she submits her in the first round. I'll bet you. Ice cold monster.
Yeah, and you thought Korean Zombie was going to beat Brian Ortega, so I'm going to write on that forever. Just so you know.
Man, so like you said, my pick will probably be Miranda Maverick. She's the bigger, faster, stronger athlete, just overall better. I just see her, winning on all levels, on all fronts, but probably grinding out a decision though. I don't know if she'll submit her. Both these women have 6 submission wins. But she's the -360 favorite, and I don't see that at all. I don't think she should be that big of a favorite, coming in against Liana, the +285 underdog who has 6 wins of her own, and 5 of those are by armbar, might I add. So if Miranda's going to take her to the ground like we all expect, she really has to be super cognizant of that armbar. She seems like an armbar specialist. She's 4-1 in her last 5 fights in Liana. She doesn't have the best striking defense, but she'll pump out the jab. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's all about the subs in this fight, and how good is Miranda Maverick's cardio? Because I don't see her getting her out of there in the first round. So how good is her cardio? And if she slips up, she could potentially get subbed by Liana. So I don't know. It's a dangerous fight. I'm going to choose Miranda Maverick to grind out a decision. I think she's better overall. But if I was betting, I would stay far away from this one, or maybe even take a little sprinkle on Liana over there by submission or something, inside the distance.
See, we got this. We got this down here on the bottom.
All right. So moving on from our early prelims to our prelims card, which is going to be played on ESPN Plus and ESPN2 at noon Eastern time for those in the United States on the Eastern Seaboard there. For our first fight in the UFC light heavyweight division, we've got Da Un Jun versus Sam Alvey.
Is Nathaniel Wood, Casey Kenny not before that?
Nope.
No, I think they moved that.
Oh, really?
I have the most up-to-date one that I can usually find is Google, and it's still the same 4 fights taking place on the middle prelim card, the prelim card, but it's that fight, and then Oliveira, then Nathaniel Wood and Casey Kenny, and then the heavyweight fight there as the featured prelim.
Okay, yeah, go off that. So is that Da Young versus Sam Alvey?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Alvey, God knows how much he's been in around the game for a while. He's got such a ton of experience inside the octagon. But you look at him as of late, I think he's got a couple of recent first-round losses under his belt via TKO. And, naturally, back in the day, you would have associated Alvey with that sort of notorious power puncher. But he's since then, 2016 onwards, I think we've seen him reluctant in those power shots. And certainly from my sort of opinion, I think with Young, if he's going to have a success in this fight, he's probably going to have to test Alvey's chin early on, because it has looked very shaky recently. And I do believe that Young does have those heavy hands to sort of connect clean against a guy like Alvey, who does struggle, especially when those first rounds. So if Young picks a pace right from the get-go, I think he'll be able to get the first round technical knockout or knockout himself. So I'm going to go for Young via first round TKO.
I hate picking against Sam Alvey because he's one of my favorites. I mean, who can hate on a guy that smiles so much in there? But he, there's a reason he was trying to move back down to middleweight at 185, and he's having a tough go at 205. And the UFC offered him a fight at 205, and he took it. So he was already making his way down to 185. I don't think he's as big as some of the 205ers like Young anymore. Like you said, I think you're starting to see his durability waver just a little bit as he's getting up there in age and so much experience and been doing it for so long. I hate picking against Sam Alvey because I really want to pick him, but I just see Young getting maybe a second round knockout against him because, I mean, it's just there. It's Alvey's getting toward the end of his road, I think.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where you get another one of these fights where you got the young guy coming in fighting the older guy that's probably at the end of the rope. The only way I see Alvey winning this is by KO, and in the past he's had problems with more athletic guys. Young's the more athletic guy. He's going to be the bigger guy in the cage. My pick is going to definitely go with Young on this one.
Yeah, Da Un Jung, the minus 385 favorite, so a huge favorite in this match. He's on a 12-fight win streak, 10 of those wins coming by TKO or KO. He's the more technically sound fighter, in my opinion. He's got a good straight jab, nice straight right, good scrambles when escaping takedowns. Overall, he's just a younger, faster, longer fighter. Sam Alvey's a good veteran. He's got 20 TKO wins of himself, 11 decision wins, but he's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights. And he did put up a good fight against Ryan Spann. I can't take that away from him. He's a savvy veteran. But in this fight, I just think he's just outclassed on the feet, and I don't really see him getting a TKO. Would you say, James, he hasn't won he hasn't got a TKO win since like 2016 or something like that? So I mean, man, I don't see it happening on Saturday. I'm picking Jung to win by decision, but I'm not betting this fight. Staying far away from it.
All right. So moving on to our next fight on the prelim card, we've got in the UFC welterweight division, Alex Oliveira taking on our first undefeated fighter of the evening, Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Hey.
It got caught
nailed
in my
it.
Nailed it.
This certainly, from my opinion, is one of the fights to watch from the prelims. I mean, you've got undefeated guys, you mentioned Berna and Shavkat, who's won titles across promotions in Europe, and he's very deadly. I think some crazy stat I saw, he's finished 11 fights inside the 2 rounds. So he's only been past the second round once in his career. So in that sort of department, I mean, I'm very much looking forward to Shavkat. And when the Cowboy, he's stepping in on short notice, I believe. Well, about 2 weeks, he was supposed to fight Eliseo dos Santos, I believe. So, I mean, you know what to expect from Oliveira. This guy, comes to fight. And I think if Oliveira's going to get it done, I think he's got to get it done early. And then we'll sort of see the Kazakh and Rakhmonov sort of take control of the fight. I'm probably going to lean towards Rakhmonov on this one, who's just sort of improved in his striking as of late and can certainly decimate Oliveira if Oliveira tends to, not get the fight done early. If he can survive those early shots, Rakhmonov, then I can see him pounding out Oliveira I'm going to go for a 3rd round TKO. I do believe he's got the power and the striking skill set to finish the fight. It may take him some time to get the job done.
Alex Oliveira is another one of those savvy veterans that's been around a long time. He's been in some wars with people. He's been able to be one of the more durable fighters in that loaded welterweight division. One thing I do like about him, even recently said he'd sign up to fight my boy Kazmat Chimaev. So, he's a tough dude and he's a game fighter. But I'm going with I'm going to spoil it a little bit. Jason's been feeding me all this stuff about Rakhmonov, and I believe the hype, and I think he gets it done in the 2nd round with a knockout.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm all over this kid, man. I've watched a couple of his tapes. He's 17-0. He's finished everybody that he's fought. He's 12-0. Finished everybody he's fought. He's big for welterweight. He's going to be a big welterweight. He's athletic, and he's coming from the M1 fight promotion, which is, I mean, it's a pretty tough fight promotion. It's not like he's fighting slouches. He's fought some competition. His last guy was 28-6, if I remember right. He's from Brazil, and he had fought for a welterweight title in Brazil. So he's fighting some tough guys. I think this kid, I was impressed with what I saw on tape. So he's got stand up, he's big, he's strong, he's got a little bit of a ground game. Like this kid's going to be, he's going to be something. So I'm picking Rakhmonov. I don't know how it ends, but I think he definitely gets it done.
Nice. So everybody's going with the guy with my favorite name on the card, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Pretty interesting. He's the number 1 fighter in Kazakhstan. He's got 7 wins by KO, TKO, 5 by submission. Like you said, he's finished all of his fights. Nice jab, good straight right. Fought some of the best in Russia. And what I really noticed when watching tape on this dude is he has a fight IQ that's beyond his years. Like even seeing him fight when he was like 19 and 18 and stuff, like he looked like a veteran in there. Like he looked comfortable. He didn't look like he had any jitters. He looked relaxed. You know, he looked like someone who's been there before. So you like to see that. He's got good wrestling and good striking, like everything. Ground and pound is heavy. But he's going up against a tricky veteran in Alex Oliveira, 22-8, the -155 favorite. This guy is well-versed overall, 12 TKO wins, 5 sub wins, 5 decision wins. So he could, finish it or win in any type of way. He really likes to use his range. He's got nice body kicks, good straight right hands. He fights long. But he is kind of reckless when he comes in, closing the distance, throwing combinations, good elbows in the clinch. But, man, I'm going to have to do another clean sweep going with the underdog over here. I really like Shavkat. I think he's a beast, good up-and-coming fighter. I like what I've seen from him, and I'm going to pick him. I don't think he's going to win by TKO. I think this is going to be his first decision victory. I think Alex Oliveira is a tough customer, and he'll probably win like the first round, I think. But then I think Shavkat's just going to take over. I think his IQ is already better than Oliveira's, and he'll really utilize that to grind out a decision win.
All right. I like it across the board. I would like to take a moment to shout out the M1 announcers and commentary crew. They're fantastic. Every time I watch an M1 fight, it's fantastic just from a broadcast perspective.
Okay.
For our next fight on the prelim card, we've got Casey Kenny versus Nathaniel Wood taking place in the UFC bantamweight division. James, I know you were eager to jump on that one, so let's get it.
He was mad.
Schumann, you're overlooking my boy. The prospect Wood, he's certainly, from my opinion, he's lived up to that nickname so far. 4-1 record in the UFC. It's a shame he got that defeat to John Dodson because he was certainly on a great rise so far with 3 out of the 4 wins in the UFC coming via submission. And he's got a lot of TKO knockout wins under his belt. However, I don't think he's the most complete striker. I think he's finding a lot higher competition in the UFC compared to the ones he faced at Cage Warriors. So predominantly nowadays, he tends to sort of lean towards his wrestling, whereas you look at a guy like Casey Kenny. I mean, this guy is on fire right now. He's certainly, again, one of the other prospects at bantamweight. And this is probably one of the best 2 matchups on paper on the undercard, and I'm very much looking forward to 2 elite prospects going head-to-head. As I said, Wood sort of leaned towards in his wrestling to sort of get the job done in the UFC so far, whereas Kenny, again, he's also a wrestling expert, but he does have some excellent striking. He has shown some sort of improvement in his striking ability recently. I'm very much looking forward to this one, and I think this one does go the full distance because on paper they both match up very well, and it's going to be a case of whose skill set will come out on top. And I'm afraid I'm going to have to back my boy on this one. I'm going to go for a Nathaniel Wood via decision. It will be a very close fight, though. I'm looking forward to this one.
Thank goodness we're going to finally have one disagreement on here. I'm with Casey Kenny on this. I think he is I think Wood, people are sleeping on his striking a little bit in this fight. I think he is the better striker, but I think better grapplers, and I think Casey Kenny does have the edge there on grappling. And when you can control where the fight takes place, and you can also control the pace of the fight a little bit too, I think Casey Kenny, and he's got a lot of momentum right now. He's already got a UFC win this month, and I think that I like that, and I like the little wave that he's on, and I think Casey Kenny wins by a unanimous decision.
Speaking of his last fight, that was pretty damn impressive with all those leg kicks he was throwing, with him being predominantly a wrestler, and he came in and showed a little bit of his stand-up. I'm going to kind of echo what James said a little bit on Woods. He fights long. I do think, like Zach said, I do think he is the better striker, even though Casey, we saw what Casey did that last fight, but I think you're seeing him improve a little bit. But I think overall, Wood is going to be the better striker. If his path to victory is keeping it standing, if he can keep the fight standing, I think he beats him. But I'm going to have to go with what Zach said about that wrestling ability of Kenny. And if he ends up getting it down, which I think he will, I think we're looking at possibly a fight of the night. I definitely think it goes to a decision. I don't think it's going to be unanimous, but I do think Kenny is going to win. But I mean, it's close. I'll probably lay off of this one just because I think it's a coin flip, but I think it's going to be a great fight. But I'm going to go Kenny by decision.
Nice. So we got 2 for Kenny and 1 for Wood, right?
Yep.
Dope. I am super intrigued by this matchup. Super pumped for this fight. I like both these fighters. Casey Kenny, 15-2. Nathaniel Wood, 17-4. Man, what can I say? Nathaniel Wood, he's got 8 TKO wins to his record, 6 sub wins, 3 decision wins. But one thing I did see on his stats is that he has an 83% takedown defense rate. So that's really, really good. That's really high. Obviously, he probably hasn't faced any wrestlers of the caliber of Casey Kenny, who has a judo and wrestling background and a 46% takedown accuracy of his own. So, but I do think that 83% takedown defense on Wood's part is going to come in handy. You know, the more that he can keep the fight standing, like Jason said, I think it definitely favors him. Like you said, in Casey Kenny's last fight, he really showed off his striking prowess. He's improved for sure, but I don't think he's on the technical level of Nathaniel Wood, who's got a nice straight right, good front kicks to the body, and he should enjoy a technical stand-up advantage in this matchup. But he's at a power disadvantage if Casey lands one of those big shots, you know, or even those leg kicks, like, you know, it could be devastating for him. But if he could avoid the power on the feet and the takedown, I know that's asking a lot. I definitely think that Wood could grind out a decision, but I think he's up for it. I think this fight, like Jason said, is a pick'em. And I even saw on James' Twitter, I think he posted something about the interview from Nathaniel Wood, and he's just basically being self-aware, realizing that Kenny is a black belt himself. He wants to fight on the ground, and he just knows his path to victory is keeping it standing and outclassing him on the feet because he thinks he has the advantage, and I would tend to agree with him. So give me the underdog in this one, plus 165. He opened at Nathaniel Wood, the prospect, to grind out a decision victory over Casey Kenny. But again, I like both these guys.
Nice.
All right, excellent. So moving on to our featured prelim not for the evening, I should say, our featured prelim for the afternoon for UFC 254. We've got in the UFC heavyweight division, the towering Stefan Skyscraper Struve versus Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa.
Yeah, this is such a weird one on paper because you look at Struve. He went on a bit of an abysmal run and then beat Rogerio de Lima and sort of wanted to end the sport on a high. Returned against Ben Rothwell, I believe, in December of 2019. And yeah, again, it's certainly a weird one on paper. A lot of his wins have come via submission. He's very experienced, highly skilled. And I think with Tai Tuivasa, started off 3-0 in the UFC. Many dubbed him as this next big thing at heavyweight. And ever since then, it just hasn't gone his way. He's lost his last 3 in a row, I believe. So it's a sort of a clash up in stars. I think if the fight certainly goes to the floor, Struve's going to have no problem whatsoever in submitting Tai Tuivasa. But as long as the fight's standing, I genuinely believe that Tai Tuivasa will potentially look for the knockout finish because, if he backs him up against fence, I think one of those hard shots are going to land from Tuivasa. And I think he's going to go at it right from the bell and certainly want to look to show the Dana White and the rest of the matchmakers in the UFC that there is still some potential there. That was just a blip in his career, and I think Tuivasa is certainly going to want to put in a big shift this weekend, and I genuinely believe he gets it done. Although the height and the reach advantage is just staggering, but I think Tai Tuivasa catches him clean early on. I think he gets a first-round finish.
I have Tai Tuivasa first round knockout. I think you could see a Mark Hunt-like walk-off knockout here. I think Tai Tuivasa is just, he's had some rough matchups. He obviously wasn't ready for the Dos Santos fight. Lost a tough unanimous decision to a couple other, a veteran, and then Spivak obviously was able to get him to the ground and choke him out. But man, I like Tai Tuivasa. He's still, he's young still. He's only 27 years old as a heavyweight. That's a young heavyweight. He still has heavy hands. And I just don't see how Struve gets this to the ground where, like you said, I think that's his only prayer. And I think one of Tai's one of those big shots that Tai throws. I think that lands right on Struve's chin before it even gets close to the ground. So I'll take Tai Tuivasa by a first-round knockout.
I am going to give a shout out to our boy Scott Shellock. If he's listening, I'm taking this from your page. So this is from Scott's Twitter page. This is on Struve. Struve's stats since 2017. He's landed 1 takedown. He's been taken down 11 times. He's advanced position 2 times, has given up 11 advances. He's landed 2.6 significant strikes per minute, has been hit 5 times significant strikes per minute. And he's landed 0 knockdowns, and he's been knocked down 3 times since 2017. So there was 2 bets that I've already made, which I usually don't do this early on there. One of them was Tai Tuivasa, and the other one was the Rakhmonov. Those are my 2. I mean, I'm all over these guys. I think Tai Tuivasa by KO.
Smooth. Love it. Tai Tuivasa, he's lost his last 3 fights. He's at a 9-inch reach disadvantage, which is pretty crazy to think about. With that said, I'm taking him to win. He's a southpaw. He's got heavy leg kicks, overhand rights. He's kind of got a brawling style of striking. You know, he'll give one to take one, or how the saying goes. But yeah, he's going up against Stefan Struve, who's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights. He's got 18 submission wins, which would be his path to victory, in my opinion. But like Jason just said, he's had 1 takedown in the last however many years. So I don't really see him taking Tai down. And even if he does, I've seen Tai get taken down multiple times and get back up. So I don't think that, he's just going to get submitted instantly if he were somehow to get taken down. So at some point, I just see Tai's power coming into play, and he's going to probably clip Struve either in the first or second TKO or KO victory.
There are, on this card, we have 2 heavyweight fights. When I tweeted this morning about who's ready for some heavyweight action, this is not the one that I meant.
Yeah, I got you there.
There is another one. There's another one still coming up on our discussion here. That's so for the first fight on our main card for UFC 254, taking place on ESPN Plus, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern time for those on the eastern seaboard of the United States. We've got Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion the Hulk Cutelaba in the UFC light heavyweight division.
I mean, this fight is cursed. I mean, who knows who's going to say that this fight will actually happen this weekend? I hope it does, because you look at the way the first bout ended. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. And Cutelaba is just a wild man. He's got a good wrestling background. He likes to throw a lot. He's got some heavy shots in his hands. But whatever Cutelaba could do, Ankalaev can do better. And I think certainly from the first fight, it just became apparent that Ankalaev could sort of counter his opponent Cutelaba at distance. He was simply sharper. He knew what to expect from his opponent. And certainly his strategy and his game plan for the Cutelaba first fight was certainly spot on, because he got the stoppage, albeit there's a lot of controversy that marred the stoppage, whether he's actually hurt or what. But again, with Ankalaev, it brings a dominant wrestling game with some crushing ground strikes. But over the recent times, he's proven himself as a very solid striker as well. Again, I think we're going to sort of see the same outcome as the first fight did. I'm going to go for an Ankalaev. It'll probably last a lot longer than the first fight, I think. I think this one does go past the first round, but Ankalaev will certainly land a lot of heavy shots early on that would certainly catch Cutelaba by surprise and damage him. But I think he gets it done early in the second.
I think I'm going to go against the grain on this one, and I'm going to break my rule for this time. And I like Cutelaba. James said it perfect. He's a wild man. He brings the intensity with everything that he does. And in order to beat one of the Russians, you have to have a crazy man to do that. And I think he has the power, and he has the aggressiveness that can get something done. You can't stop crazy. And he's crazy. He's crazy at face-offs. He's crazy at weigh-ins. He's a wild man. He's crazy enough to act like he's hurt when he's not. Mm-hmm. I don't think he makes that mistake, but there's so much built up and there's so much emotion from this fight. And I think something crazy is going to happen, and I think it happens in his favor, Cutelaba's favor. So I'm going to go some wild, spinning back fist knockout in the
You're reaching on that one a little bit, Zach.
You would have said the same thing about Brian Ortega. So
I'm gonna have to listen to this, man, for weeks. Cutelaba, I mean, he is crazy. The one thing that kind of stood out to me out of his 4 wins in the UFC, the guys that he's beaten are 4-8 now in the UFC. So he only beats the lower tier guys. He's going in there with a guy that like James said, he's the better overall striker. He's got better overall ground game. Ankalaev finishes the fight. I think it's going to be a KO or TKO. So my bet is definitely, I'm not going to take the money line. I'm definitely going to take this fight to be finished. Ankalaev's going to win.
Yeah, man, this is a great matchup. I really, really hope we see it. Even though we've technically seen the fight, we still haven't even really seen it. You know, it was taken from the ref. But I mean, what's his name was playing possum, so I mean, it's on him, I guess. But yeah, I own Cutelaba, the Hulk, 15-5. He's the plus 230 underdog. I'm pretty surprised by that. I mean, we've already seen the lines before, but I just feel like it's pretty crazy underdog status right there. He lands 5.29 significant strikes per minute, and he absorbs 3.26 significant strikes per minute. He has fought the better competition, though. He's been in there with the likes of Glover Teixeira, the Khalil Roundtrees, the Jared Cannoniers of the world. But yeah, man, that line, I just think that line is pretty crazy. Going up against Magomed Ankalaev, who's 13-1. He's the minus 280 favorite. But I mean, who has Ankalaev beat? You know, I mean, that's not even rhetorical. Like, who has he beat? I don't know. He has 12 TKO wins, 2 sub wins, 1 decision win. And like I said, he's been in there with the better competition, with the higher caliber fighters. But Magomed, he's got nice inside low kicks, good front kicks to the body. He lunges in with the jabs. He's got a nice counter right hand, good control against the cage, and he'll use it to transition to some takedowns. But I mean, mainly he wants to fight on the feet. And Cutelaba's got insane power. The Hulk, I mean, come on. This dude is a marauder, a berserker, you know, for that first round. And then after that, the longer the fight goes on, I just feel like it goes in more favor of Ankalaev. But in that first round, that first part of the second round, I really do think Cutelaba is super dangerous. And Magomed Ankalaev has to be careful. If it's going to be a straight pick, I'm going to have to go Magomed Ankalaev probably via decision. But from a betting perspective, I think you got I think it's more of a pick 'em fight than plus 230 underdog status. So I would definitely be betting on Cutelaba just because, yeah, like I said, I think it's a pick 'em fight and he could for sure clip Magomed at some point early.
Just go with it. Come on, ride with me on this, man. You're so close.
I can't. In my head says Magomed, but then my pocketbook says Cutelaba right there.
Oh, your pocketbook.
That's what matters.
Does anybody have a very strong opinion they want to voice about what happened in the first fight between these two gentlemen?
It was ridiculous.
I actually think I think he was hurt a little. I don't think it was hurt enough to finish the fight. I think he was hurt. Yeah. He was hurt.
I rewatched it in the last 120 minutes of today, and in my personal opinion, having just watched a lot of fights, I don't think he was hurt in the slightest.
Not even a little bit.
I think he was 100% faking it, and it did just faked it well. It looks fake when you watch it back in slow motion. There's a couple clips on YouTube, and yeah, he's doing the fucking boogeyman.
He was blocking everything, dude. I swear, he was like.
He looks like he doesn't take anything on the face. Even the announcers live were saying like, "Oh, well, he's still taking some shots. He was taking some shots on the face." I don't see him take a single one that actually hits him.
Slow-mo, if you watch the slow-mo, he's literally like, but he's just he's just looking like he's out of it.
Shane McMahon couldn't have faked that better.
Right.
He looked like he was ready to fucking left hook the ref as soon as the ref stepped in.
Yeah.
His hands weren't even down before he was saying, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I think it was one of those kind of like the boxers do when they get hit and they're like, or like perfect prime example is I forget his damn name, who just fought Izzy. Why am I losing my
Paulo Costa?
Paulo Costa. When he took a couple of those leg kicks and he's like, touching his leg, and it was kind of one of those things where it's like he was hurt, but he was kind of he was playing it off type of thing. That's what I thought. I'll have to rewatch it again, but
I don't know. We'll never know. We're gonna find out on Saturday.
We're gonna find out Saturday night.
As they say in basketball, ball don't lie. So we're gonna see. I hope it's a different ref.
Oh, could you imagine if they throw the same guy in there? Cutelaba might lose his mind right there on the. Oh, that
loses by disqualification for punching out the ref.
Choking out.
He might just knock him out. Yeah.
So our next fight of the evening, we've got Lauren Lucky Murphy taking on Liliya Shakirova in the UFC women's flyweight division.
Liliya, honestly, she's stepping in on short notice, I believe, because obviously it was supposed to be Murphy and Calvillo. And as soon as you step in on short notice, I don't tend to favour you. I tend to favour the ones who've had the full camp and who have been training for this fight, whereby you've got that fighter stepping in on a week's notice, albeit you've seen a couple of performances in recent weeks and recent months with fighters stepping in on a week notice, coming up clutch in that fight because they genuinely want to show their skill set on the highest level. And Liliya could be that woman, but I'm not too sure. I mean, she's got a good background in freestyle wrestling and she's impressed in her various promotions over in Kazakhstan. She's improved her stand-up in recent times with the striking, employing a good use of boxing, various kicks and spinning back fists. But if you looked at her in the last couple of fights, she is vulnerable, getting hit. And I think Murphy certainly does have good enough boxing to sort of take advantage of that. Although Shakirova has sort of displayed some powerful takedowns and strong ground and pound against the opponents, I think this is going to be a tough test for Shakirova because honestly, this is a different kettle of fish. I mean, she's competing in the UFC for the first time, not some professionals competing in Kazakhstan. With Murphy, she's certainly got the experience as well. She's very well-rounded, combines good striking with some solid grappling, but she doesn't necessarily stand out in one area. She's just very well-rounded, and I think she certainly gets the job done in this weekend. I don't think we'll see a finish. I reckon Lauren Murphy will get it done by a decision.
I don't dislike very many people in the UFC. I'm more of a fan or neutral. I do not like Lauren Murphy. She annoys me and she bugs me, but I think she cruises to a pretty convincing win via unanimous decision. And I hate saying that because if I could, I would love to pick an upset against her. That's all the airtime she gets from me.
Was it from her stint on The Ultimate Fighter?
She was so annoying. She was the worst on that show. But no, she's been that way. I've heard her post-fight interviews. So I can't remember what it was. She said something after the Roxanne fight too that I just that it might be because I already didn't like her. I don't know, but I don't want to talk about her anymore. She's gonna win. She's gonna win by decision. It's gonna be great. Whatever.
I'm going to kind of echo what James says. Shakirova, she obviously in those other fight promotions that she's fought on, I think she's 8-1 overall record, and that one fight was actually pretty close. That was one of the fights that I watched of her. She's pretty aggressive. She's got some good wrestling. Unfortunately, I just think there's levels to this, and they're throwing her in against Lauren Murphy, who's going to be the bigger fighter. And I think what's going to happen is the first round I actually think will be super competitive. And then I just think Lauren Murphy's just going to end up taking over. I think Lauren Murphy's going to win decision pretty easily.
Nice. Liliya Shakirova, 8-1, taking the fight on short notice, like you mentioned. She's on a 3-fight winning streak. She has a wrestling base, nice knees in the clinch. She'll utilize a jab and low kick, mostly to gauge range, though. She looks really, really like rudimentary on the feet. Her striking defense doesn't look very good. She doesn't look comfortable at all. But yeah, her path to victory would be taking Murphy down and just kind of ground and pounding her. That's the only path to victory I see. But her best attribute being wrestling, she's not even very good at that, in my opinion. Like, just against the local competition that she was going against, she didn't seem, too overwhelming or anything. So her taking this fight against Lauren Murphy on short notice. Lauren Murphy, she's on a 3-fight win streak of her own. She's got 5 TKO wins, 5 decision wins, 5 decision losses. She's definitely faced a better competition. She's I just look for Lauren to pick her apart on the feet and to avoid getting taken down. She has the better cardio, in my opinion, as well. And she's got a 67% takedown defense. So, yeah, this fight stays on the feet. I see Lauren Murphy actually TKOing her. Either she has a lot of late round finishes in her career. So either the second or the third, Lauren Murphy TKO.
I think I just want to add on this before we go to this next one. I think one thing you could look out for if you're looking for looking to go against Murphy on this one would be the travel over to Abu Dhabi and the time change and when she's fighting and how she adjusts to that time change. Shakirova, she's not going to have that big of a difference in time change for her. So, I mean, maybe Murphy gasses out. I don't see it. I just think she's the bigger fighter. So I just wanted to add that in there for everybody that's listening.
All right. So
I'm
we
off my
do
soapbox.
in the chat here, we've got an appearance. Anybody want to give I believe everybody was in agreement about the first fight on the early prelims, the Yakovlev fight.
Yeah, we all had Alvarez.
Yeah, we all
because Yakovlev wants to take it to the ground, and that's where Alvarez got how many submission wins, like 15 or something like that.
I think this fight could take place on the ground too.
That's what I'm saying. Yakovlev wants it there, in my opinion. So
he does for sure. Yeah, he does, and he has a chance there. He's definitely got a shot.
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah,
perfect. Welcome, Mr. Scott. So next on our main card of the evening, we've got in the UFC middleweight division, we've got Phil Megatron Hawes taking on Jacob Malkoun.
Malkoun, obviously, he's 4-0, I believe, and it's a bit of a tough one for him because obviously both fighters are making their UFC debut, I believe. But I think Hawes has definitely fought the tougher competition in this one. It's certainly early days to sort of pinpoint where Malkoun is best at. He's got a couple of decision victories and a technical knockout in there as well. So he's very early on in his MMA career, but he's in his early 30s, mid-30s, I believe, whereas with Hawes, he's been knocking on the UFC door for a while, I believe, so, in my opinion. And I think just certainly his explosiveness from the get-go, I think he will manage to get the job done. I just think Hawes has certainly fought the tough competition. And for Malkoun, I just don't think it's going to be the best days at the office for him. As I said, Hawes is very explosive. He's very talented, in my opinion. He's just got a ridiculous amount of strength in those hands. I think he gets it done early on. He'll be looking to impress on his debut. And what better way to do it than on the main card of Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje? I think he gets it done early as well. So I'm going to go for Hawes via first round TKO.
I'm kind of sick of agreeing with you so much, James.
Sorry.
I just think it's because you're smart. It's okay. I really like Phil Hawes. I like his power. I like his background a little bit about overcoming some adversity, losing to getting on the Ultimate Fighter, losing in his first attempt at the Dana White Contender Series, and then putting together a nice win of a 4-fight winning streak against somebody who just, I don't know. You'd have to be 4-0 in the UFC on a main card, really to make me feel like you belong there. You'd have to blow me away with some 4 ridiculous knockouts or something like that. And Malkoun just doesn't have that. And I just think Phil Hawes, he starts fast. I like that he starts fast. I like that he finishes strong. He's a finisher once it gets on the ground. We saw that. On the Dana White Contender Series last month. Hits the big shot, finishes him on the ground. He's got that killer instinct. I am going to take Phil Hawes via first round knockout, grounded pound after he drops him.
He didn't just lose his first Contender Series. He got
knocked out.
Chris Tucker Friday. You got knocked up. And what was crazy though, he was winning that fight. He was dominating that fight, and he gassed. That's it. I like to look at these fights, and I always like to see how can the underdog win. I'm going to give credit for the Malkoun. He does train with Robert Whittaker, so he's got some good training partners. I watched a couple of his fights. He's straightforward. He throws hard shots. He throws kicks. He's aggressive. Once again, there's levels to this game, and Phil Hawes is way more athletic. He's way more powerful. I think the only drawback is going to be his gas tank. But I just think he's just going to overwhelm Malkoun. And I think this fight is over. And I honestly think it's going to be over in the first round by Hawes, by KO.
Wow. Damn. So we got a sweep of Hawes over here, huh? That's pretty crazy.
I'm not sleeping on Malkoun. Like I said, I watched his videos. I just think there's just not enough on him. That's the only thing.
Sugarcoating it.
I tried to find a reason because I wasn't impressed with his last Contender Series on Phil Hawes. I think they kind of fed him.
I feel it. Phil Hawes. Hey, Burner, I don't know if you got Google over there. You probably do. But could you research this and see if Jacob Malkoun is Whittaker's boxing coach, or striking coach or something. I believe I heard something like that. So
I know.
I'll look it up for you. Yeah. It is interesting. Tapology usually is the best site for stats on fighters, and they don't have an age, a last weigh-in weight, or a reach listed for Malkoun. So he really doesn't have any like pro stats coming out of any promotions anywhere regional even.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, he's a ghost in the system, bro. He's a great.
Yeah, there's no data on him. Let's see.
But while you're looking that up, let me just talk about him a little bit. So Jacob Malkoun, 4-0, 6'1", 185. He's the plus 220 underdog here. He's got a strong jab. He'll pump it out there. Good overhand right, straight right. He's super comfortable on the feet. He likes to use combinations to close the distance. And he really likes to manage the striking range well. He should have the technical advantage in the striking, in my opinion, for this matchup. But he doesn't have the best takedown defense, which is definitely going to come into play for this matchup. He'll use guillotines to reverse the position when he does get taken down. He'll mix it up and go for takedowns of his own, but he's not a wrestler by nature. He's got some decent ground and pound, and he definitely has the better cardio, like Jason was alluding to. Phil Hawes, who gassed terribly, and I've seen him gas a couple times in a couple different fights. And not only that, Scott Shelvach, who you mentioned earlier, Jason, pointed it out to me that not only does he gas, but he almost looks like he gives up a little bit in there. And I don't like to see that from fighters when things get tough. You know, they're kind of looking for a way out. But he's the minus 270 favorite. He's a good wrestler, Iowa State NCAA wrestler. He'll go for the single leg. He's got good ground and pound, good control from the top, big power in his overhand rights, nice calf kicks, short elbows when he's breaking the clinch. But I think what it comes down to in this fight is his gas tank. And is he going to be able to put away Jacob quickly? Is he going to be able to take him down with ease? Is it going to be a struggle? You know, how is that going to play out? Because if it is going to be a struggle and it does go past the first round, I just see Jacob striking being on another level than Philip, even though he hasn't, you know, maybe faced the UFC level caliber fighters. He's over here training with Robert Whittaker. Potentially, maybe he's the coach. I don't know. But
training partner.
Yeah.
Training partner? Yeah. Okay. I mean, so he's in there with him, you know, he's in there with him on a daily basis. That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys found that out. So that only solidifies even more so in my pick, which is the underdog, Jacob Malkoun. I think he's going to TKO him after Philip Hawes inevitably gasses out. I think he's going to be able to survive the initial onslaught of his wrestling and ground and pound. Maybe he loses the first round, and then after that kind of takes over with the striking. So give me the underdog.
I don't think that's a bad pick at all, honestly. After watching his fights,
I made a bet on it.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't think that's bad at all. Even though I think Hawes is going to win, I think that's a good call.
Yeah.
So the story that we've got for Jacob Malkoun, he is not the coach. However, he is, the main striking sparring partner for Robert Whittaker. The reason that he signed to the UFC is in our previous iteration of Fight Island, he went with Robert Whittaker as like a cornerman training partner situation and cut down to middleweight without being signed to the UFC, and like did the whole like, hey, Dana, I'm here with Robert. Like, I'm great. I want to fight. So it seems that being Robert Whittaker's training partner since 2015 is directly the reason why he is like, he went to Fight Island as a training partner, got signed to the UFC, and now is coming back. His coaches were
what happened with Hamzat too, his homie who fought last time. He got the W last weekend, so that's pretty crazy. You know, if you're a UFC fighter friend, you could just tag along and be like, yo, Dana, in slot.
And he is 3-0 as a professional boxer in Australia.
Exactly.
And the reason that he has so few fights, it sounds like people are ducking him, which is a real thing. I don't doubt that. You know, in those regional MMA circuits, you get these big beastly guys and everybody slides out of their fight because, you know, if you work as an accountant during the week, you don't really want to get your shit beat. So if you look and see you're about to fight a guy that's definitely going to the UFC, I mean, I get it. You know, it's not worth it. Like, I get it. You gotta drop out. But it sounds like that's happening to him a lot, where he's getting matched up with regional guys and they end up canceling it. You see that happen I've noticed you see that happen with women's fights an incredible amount. If there's a girl that is like a really good boxer or something, she'll have like 25 canceled bouts where it's just like, nope, every week.
People say yes, and then they do their homework and go, nope.
Yeah, people people want to pick up the phone and say yes, and then they find a no. We've got a question from Scott. What platform do you use to study fights? I personally use UFC Fight Pass, but I think the thing I use the most is YouTube, honestly, and I try to get a native language broadcast usually from people's fights. So I use YouTube a lot of the time just to find those weird like regional promotions and stuff. I don't know what you guys use to watch fights mainly.
I just mostly use like MMA Core or YouTube, or just Googling, you know, whatever fights I could search on the internet, on the dark web. You know, we get real dark arts over here sometimes, but searching fights. But anywhere you can, you know, utilize any resource you really can. The internet is your oyster.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'm just same thing. YouTube Tapology. Yeah. I'll look at who's fighting who they fought in the past, and just kind of base it off of that.
Yeah, Tapology is a great platform for staying up to date on the order of the fights and who's fighting, and it kind of keeps all their stats organized. SureDog too, as well, has it laid out really nicely.
I'll listen to other people's breakdowns too, just to kind of see what other people are saying, and then kind of, I mean, I like to hear everybody else's opinions. That's kind of why I love doing these, because you know, Zach and I do ours separate, but it's kind of nice to get other people's input that, you know, maybe they saw something that I didn't see, and it's
absolutely. The more information, the better.
Yes, sir.
So let's see. Moving on, it's nice because we're doing the live show right now, but when I edit these, I just take out all the parts that aren't about the specific fight. So we can just chill and bullshit because I cut it later.
You edit out all my gold.
We like the bullshit.
I don't edit out
that
all
would have
of
been
the
huge by
bullshit,
now.
I do edit out the long bullshit. And the first time we did it, I edited out some spicy takes.
Oh, damn it.
I'm out. Bye.
I'll probably at this point I'd leave the spicy takes in, but it's not. Yeah, it's nice to just have. I managed to find a start and an end for each fight, so it ends up making a real nice little.
Well, the next time Misha Tate fights, we'll have some spicy takes.
I will upload the whole thing as one video next time Misha Tate is fighting for you. We can just leave that up on the YouTube channel. For our next fight on the main card for UFC 254, we've got Walt Harris taking on Alexander Volkov in the UFC heavyweight division. This is going to be Aspiring Sports Burners featured big boy matchup, first iteration featured big boy matchup of the weekend we've got coming up. Alexander Drago Volkov versus Walt the Big Ticket Harris. Some heavyweight fighters coming in at you.
Thoroughly looking forward to this one. This has got all the ingredients to be an absolute banger. I mean, on paper, it's a must not lose for both fighters, because if you do lose, then you've got that status of becoming that sort of gatekeeper in the heavyweight division. And for both Volkov and Walt Harris, you do not want that status whatsoever. So it's a big performance needed from both men, and both are going to bring it. With Volkov, predominantly, he's a striker at heart who's most comfortable standing up. Very experienced, got a lot of wins under his belt by knockout, a superior reach, got heavy hands, and he's very accurate whilst throwing. And he throws with purpose. He's very accurate in his striking. He always looks to stay busy in the octagon. Has some successful ground and pound if things are ever taken to the canvas. But with Walt Harris, you know what to expect from him. I think all of his fights have come via form of knockout. He's athletic. He's very explosive, who heavily relies on his striking ability. He's certainly a nightmare standing up, and does a lot of his work in the early rounds. And I think that's sort of going to be the game plan for Walt Harris in this one. If he's going to get it done, then I think he'll have to do it early and just sort of unload on Volkov very early on. But Volkov, again, has the reach advantage. And just there's so many ways in which he can throw Walt Harris off edge and cause some serious damage. And I think if Walt Harris doesn't get it done in the first round, then I'll see Alexander Volkov sort of picking him apart, and I'm going to go for either a late finish or a decision. I'm going to go for a Volkov by decision. I think if Walt Harris doesn't get it done early, then it becomes a Volkov fight.
I agree with a lot what you're saying, but I am still writing the Walt Harris feel good, he's still fighting for his daughter stuff. And as much as I love Alistair Overeem, I was cheering so hard for him last fight, and it was kind of heartbreaking to watch him not get the W. I think getting a fight under his belt, coming back from that strategy, and hopefully a little bit more focused on just fighting and not carrying that as heavily with him to the cage. I think we're going to see a sharper Walt Harris, and I think we're going to see a Walt Harris that gets it done. Volkov has shown, he can't. He's such a good technical striker. Obviously, former Bellator champ. heavyweight champ, right? Am I crazy about that? Or am I right on? I'm right on that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But we have seen that he does have the ability to he does get hit sometimes. And when he does get hit by those big boys, I mean, we all remember the Derek Lewis knockout and stuff. And but I think he can get hit. He does have a good chin, and not everybody hits like Derek Lewis. But I think Walt Harris has the skill set and the ability to get it done in the second round.
I'm going to have to disagree on that one, Zach.
Of course you do.
Of course I do. I actually think the line on this should probably be a little bit bigger on this one. And the only reason that I say that is Zach touched on it when he first started talking about this. I think we've all kind of fell in love with Walt Harris and his story, which is an amazing story. Like, I don't think there was anybody, even Alistair Overeem, I think, was cheering for him to win in that last fight. But I don't like his gas tank. I don't like him when he gets put on his back. Volkov's bigger, he's longer. I think if there's a fight to look at and bet on and throw some money on why the odds are the way they are, I think Volkov is the guy, because I think this should be over 2-1, honestly. So I'm going Volkov, and I think it ends in the second round.
Cardio, gas tank.
Him and Phil Hawes fill up at the same gas station.
Exactly, bro. Right on that diesel, it's extra charge. It don't get you very far. But but they'll go hard for one round. Walt Harris, he finishes a lot of his fights in the first round. All of his wins are by KO or TKO. He's a southpaw. He's got huge power early, but he's well versed on the ground, but offensively at least, not defensively. Like his get-up game and his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game looks almost non-existent. Like if this fight goes past the first round, the odds should be so much in favor of Volkov. Like he said, like Jason said, I can't believe the odds are what they are right now. I think Volkov should be a much bigger favorite. He's faced a much better competition. He's coming off a decision loss to Curtis Blades, but I mean, he's faced fighters similar to Walt Harris. He pretty much was beating up Derek Lewis the entire fight until he got caught at the very, very end. He's got a 65% takedown defense of his own. So, I mean, is Walt going to be able to take him down? Obviously, he's a much better kickboxer than Walt. He's got a nice jab, good low kicks, good body kicks. And what I noticed from tape study is he'll invest in the body. And Walt Harris is super susceptible to gassing, like I said. So adding on a couple body shots here and there is only going to help. Like I said, he's faced the power punchers in the past. He's been able to avoid it, and I think he's going to be able to avoid it from Walt. Give me Volkov, probably via TKO in the second round once Walt starts gassing, or even the third. But I don't see this fight going to a decision. Volkov should outclass him on the feet easily, or even, when he gasses, he'll just be able to have his way with him, in my opinion. So, yeah, I just think the line is ridiculous that Volkov is only – I think he's opened at the minus 155 favorite. He's probably like a minus 180 now. But, pretty crazy.
Hey, I just want all you to know, when you're all picking against me, if I'm right on any of these, I'm going to be insufferable next week.
I've been hearing it all week, all week.
You'll show up in the compilation.
We've probably done 5 fighter interviews for a big fight card we have coming up next month, and every one of them, Zach has started off by saying, "Who won the fight last weekend?"
T-City.
So what do you all think briefly? It seems like everybody's kind of in the same camp for that heavyweight fight there. Assuming that everybody's right, and Volkov pretty easily.
Harris. Zach likes Harris.
Oh, yeah. Zach does like Harris. Zach likes Harris, though.
He's the one jacking up the odds.
Okay. I just want to say this. Should Volkov win this fight? Yes.
There we go.
But weird stuff happens in MMA fights, and you can't just pick favorites down the whole line. You have to find some opportunities where you think some upsets could happen. And Walt Harris, before he took his step away, he was on a pretty nice run. Right? Am I crazy to remember? I'm going off my memory, and I get punched in the head a lot.
You are in fight camp. Yeah. He did go on a nice little run. He had 3 fights in a row.
Yeah,
he had a win against Daniel Spitz, and then a win against Sergey Spivak, and then a win against Oleinik, and then he lost to Overeem. And then before that, he had lost.
And he had Overeem rocked, and The ref could have stopped it, and it wouldn't have been a bad stop.
Overeem let him, though. There was the whole build up, and I feel
Shut
sorry
up.
for you, so go ahead and take a shot.
Shut up.
He's got a loss to Fabricio on there as well in 2017.
That's not a bad loss, losing to Fabricio in 2017.
In 2017, no. So what do you? I think.
I'm just saying. I think he's a little bit of a live dog here. That's all.
I like Walt Harris a lot. I think Volkov's going to win that fight a lot. What does anybody see anything coming next for Volkov if he does win? I mean, he was on a hot streak as well. There, coming off a win over Fabricio was his last win in that streak, and then he lost to Derek Lewis. But then he won against Greg Hardy. Do we see him? Where do we see him going next, or is he kind of at the peak of where he goes?
He can't get past the elite wrestlers, so
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows it. You know, they know his weakness. So the
So
Curtis
Gate-
Blades of the world.
I don't think there's anybody that it really like. It's kind of like him and Derek Lewis to me are like kind of stuck gatekeepers for the heavyweight division to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't see either of them ever having UFC gold around their waist, but they're always going to be right there in the top 4 to 6 range.
Yeah. So there's a lot. I mean, you got to have guys like that are kind of permanent, like number 5. Like it's important to have guys like that in a division because those guys are great to prove whether or not someone belongs in it. Not in this case, obviously. Walt Harris is hardly a newcomer to the fight game.
Nope.
All right. Oh, what's up?
I was just going to say I'm excited for these last two because I think there's going to be some really fun takes.
Here we go.
I'm very curious to see what everybody's got to say on these. For our co-main event of the evening for UFC 254, we've got in the UFC middleweight division, Robert the Reaper Whittaker taking on Jared Killa Gorilla Cannonier for what presumably will be who takes on the reigning middleweight champion Israel Adesanya in his next bout. James, what do you got?
I mean, how can you not be excited for this fight? It's certainly going to be a different one for Robert Whittaker. I mean, for the last couple of years or so, he's been fighting in these championship bouts. He's been fighting 5-round fights. So it's going to be a different experience going to Abu Dhabi, fighting 3 rounds, 15 minutes against a guy, the Killer Gorilla, who's just burst onto the scene. He's got that perfect 3-0 record at middleweight, coming off of that win against Jack Hermanson. And although that was last year, I think does the ring must play an issue? I doubt it, but does the injury problems dampen his chances going into this one? Again, I'm not too sure, but with Whittaker, he's a high volume, powerful striker who does have that knockout power. And, he's more than willing to trade blows in the octagon. He's only been knocked out twice in his career, so he's very happy to stand and trade with you. He's also got that wrestling background and is a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's comfortable in the canvas should the fight take place on the mat. His conditioning is second to none. So I think with the fight against Jared Cannonier, I think Whittaker's certainly got to mix it up in this fight. We certainly saw a different one. Certainly saw a different Robert Whittaker in his last fight with Darren Till. He certainly seems a lot more motivated to get that belt back, and what way to get a big performance against Jared Cannonier and rematch Israel Adesanya potentially in Australia again. With Jared Cannonier, he's certainly an athletic pressure fighter with great work rate and cardio's there. He's got clear power in his hands and legs. I mean, this man used to compete at heavyweight, so the power's got to be there. Throws some absolute bombs standing up. He's also effective in the clinch, and again, he's one of them that can hold his own on the ground. So it's certainly going to be an interesting clash, to say the least, and I'm very much looking forward to this bout. I'm probably going to lean towards Robert Whittaker in this one. I just, I like where his headspace is at right now. He's clearly got the edge to come back and, reclaim his title. Whereas with Jared Cannonier, I mean, you can't overlook him. I mean, he's on an unprecedented streak at middleweight right now, and what he's done, he clearly believes in his ability, and I've got nothing but respect for Jared Cannonier, but this is a tough competition this week for the Killer Gorilla, and I'm going for a Whittaker via decision.
So up until I even told Jason that I was leaning towards Cannonier yesterday, and I was leaning towards him all day today. And then I was doing a little bit of research, and I was just reviewing everything. And I think, I kind of know both of these guys. Like, I've been following them. They're bigger names. Like, Cannonier's on a run. Whittaker's former champ. And I'm like, but I kind of thought Cannonier, he hits so hard and he's been so violent at 185 and he's just been wrecking people. But then you remember that Robert Whittaker lasted 10 rounds with Yoel Romero, and Yoel never knocked him out. And I think Robert Whittaker is the type of striker that the only way he gets knocked out is is something what Izzy has the ability to do, to kill you with precision and timing and things like that. But straight power and just explosiveness does not get it done against Robert Whittaker, I don't believe. And for that reason, I am going to say Robert Whittaker gets the job done via third-round knockout of his own.
Whoa. I keep going back and forth. Zach and I've talked about this probably 100 times already, but I keep going back and forth. My initial pick, leaning, I echo everything James just said. I think Whittaker's kind of coming to the end. I wasn't that impressed with the Till fight. Even though I think he showed a lot of heart, he did get knocked down, he did get rocked, and he jumped back up. But I think that's the problem. He's been getting touched. He got touched, obviously, in the Israel Adesanya fight. He got touched in the Till fight. And if Cannonier touches him, he's going out. Like you said, James, he's coming from heavyweight. Like, he has the power. He has the athleticism. I don't know if him and Dhiego Sanchez have the same coach or what, but I don't know if you guys listened to his interview, but that guy is out there, man. He is. He must have been with you, Burner, before we got on here, because that dude is. Did you guys listen to it?
No, I saw he had some chakra in the some crystals in the side of the cage, and he was doing some ritual stuff.
He is a very spiritual, very Dhiego Sanchez-esque. I
find that so weird.
Was that the interview where he said, I'm a god in a human body?
Yeah, but that was like towards the end. You got to listen to everything before, because you're going to be like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
I saw that one on Twitter. I saw the 30-second clip of that, of him saying that on Twitter.
I mean, I'm doubling down on Whittaker for sure now.
Yeah, he gets out these rocks and goes, I'm going to be that one today.
I want to pick Whittaker so bad, but I just think the power is going to be too much. I think the athleticism is going to be too much. I think he ends up catching him, and if he catches him, he's going out. I'm probably going to lay off this fight, but I'm definitely leaning towards Cannonier for the win.
Oh wow! All right, the power of spirituality compels you, I see. Man, Gary Cannonier, 13-4, the 185 pounds, 5'11", 77-inch reach. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He's got 8 KO/TKO wins to his record, 3 sub wins, and he's at a 4-inch reach advantage over the Reaper. He lands 3.62 significant strikes per minute. And man, this dude's an athlete. He's a really strong individual. Like you guys said, he used to fight at light heavyweight. He's got really powerful leg kicks, good straight right, nice defensive head movement, heavy uppercuts, really well timed. Powerful ground and pound, good knees to the body. But what I really see his path to victory is just cracking Rob with probably a straight right or something, hit him with a couple leg kicks. I don't think he's technically on Rob's level anywhere, really. But like you said, he might have the power advantage. But like Zach said, he made a good point about when he fought Yoel Romero and when he fought all those athletes with power, they're not really able to touch him like the precision and skill strikers of like Darren Till and Adesanya. That there's levels to it. There's difference between power and precision. And I definitely think Whittaker is on a different level, technically speaking. And Whittaker, on the other hand, he's coming off a unanimous decision victory over Darren Till. Super tense fight. He showed a lot of patience in that fight. He likes to land those thick oblique kicks, which I think will come in handy in this fight, kind of slowing Jared Cannonier's forward movement down. He's got nice front kicks, good footwork, and nice movement. And this is going to be a striking matchup, in my opinion, unless Whittaker decides to take him to the ground. He has the option, and I love that. I like having multiple options, multiple pathways to victory. Like I said, Whittaker is just the better MMA fighter, just more technical everywhere. And I see him either knocking him out late in the third or potentially winning a decision with more volume. So give me the Reaper. And and the odds is just it's pretty much a pick'em fight. I can't believe it. Yeah. So close. I'm shook by that. And that the odds just make me want to double down on Whittaker even more, especially those crystals.
Yeah,
everybody's on Whittaker except for me.
You're the only one. Lonely Island.
I also think that Robert Whittaker is going to win this fight. Just to balance out this is get the 5 instead of the 4. I would like to see does anybody have any strong thoughts? Assuming that I'm thinking Whittaker wins and goes on to fight Adesanya, because that's kind of how that has to go. I'd like to see Cannonier fight Yoel Romero at middleweight. That would be a super fun fight.
Oh my gosh.
I would love to see that.
Sign me all the way up for that fight.
Right?
Yeah,
that sounds like a great fight, right?
I love it.
I think that's ideal. We get that, like the rematch, the title shot, Robert Whittaker versus Israel Adesanya, and then we get to watch Jared Cannonier and Yoel Romero fight for 2.5 to 3 minutes.
Wasn't Romero supposed to fight Hall though back in August?
And that got canceled. And then when is Silva Hall? Is that
October 31st.
October 31st.
That's next week.
Yeah.
Well, sooner the better for that one, I suppose. Might as well get that out of the way as quickly as possible.
Hey, and on
Silva's last fight as well, I think.
Yeah. So he says.
Well, yeah, so he says.
Right.
We'll see.
All right. So we are on to our main event of the evening, the title fight for UFC 254 on ESPN, coming at you from Yaz Island in Abu Dhabi. We've got the champion taking on the interim title holder. We've got the Eagle taking on the highlight. We've got Khabib Nurmagomedov taking on Justin Gaethje for the UFC lightweight division strap. James, what do you got for us?
I mean, you couldn't have gassed up even any better. That was a brilliant introduction for the main event. There's nothing that can't be said about Khabib that hasn't already been said. I mean, he's relentless with his takedown attempts, and he'll almost always get the fight wherever he wants it. Makes it very difficult for his opponent to get comfortable and develop some sort of rhythm. I mean, he's an absolute bear once he gets his hands on you. And that's no pun intended, because obviously he's trained some bears back in the day. He just controls the rest of the fight and just wears his opponent down eventually. He's not the best in his feet, but we've seen him improve as of late. But he does close the distance well, has decent enough head movement that will sort of allow him to survive the movement and those hard shots from these strikers. I think with Justin Gaethje, his best bet is if the fight takes place in the center of the octagon, because you've got the main octagon, and then you've got that little octagon in the middle as well. That fight's got to take place there for Justin Gaethje if he stands a puncher's chance, because you saw him in his last fight with Tony Ferguson. I mean, have we ever seen Tony Ferguson get beat up that badly? I don't think so. And I mean, Justin Gaethje deserves all the plaudits. To be where he's at now is phenomenal. He went on that 2-fight losing streak against was it Poirier and Eddie Alvarez. To come back the way he did was nothing short of spectacular. You know what Khabib's going to bring to the table. You know what Justin Gaethje's going to bring to the table. And I've seen a crazy stat with Justin Gaethje whereby he spent 17 seconds in his UFC career on the floor. Obviously, that's all going to change on Saturday, but that's one crazy stat to keep an eye on. I think Gaethje said he was going to use his defensive wrestling to keep the fight standing, and that's certainly going to be a big factor in this one. It depends how good his wrestling is. Obviously, he's got a high wrestling background before his knockout artist sort of came into fruition. He's training at college level at wrestling, so he's certainly got to go back to his traditional roots if he's going to stand a puncher's chance against Khabib. And I don't know, I think the inevitable will happen. I mean, we could guess up Justin Gaethje all we want, but again, with Khabib Nurmagomedov, I think he gets it done late in the championship rounds. I think he just wears him down. Justin stands a chance early on, but once you get into the championship rounds, Khabib's just going to absolutely maul you, wear you down, and eventually get the finish or the decision victory. I'm going to go for a Khabib Nurmagomedov via 4th round submission.
So we don't pick against Russians.
Oh no!
Until
I've done it.
Turning the table.
And I've done it twice this card, and I'm doing it a third time. A third time. Nobody goes undefeated in MMA. Nobody. And it's going to happen eventually. And he's going to get caught eventually. And if Michael Johnson can rock Khabib, Gaethje can rock Khabib. Hey, you knocked that out. I see that. No, but hear me out. Everybody wants to talk about Gaethje. Jason's been listening to this for 2 months. Hear me out. Justin Gaethje, everybody talks about his wrestling. He doesn't use it. His defensive wrestling. He's talked about that a little bit. There are things that this fight is more competitive than anything that Khabib has ever faced, and there are markers as to where he could have success, and we can all talk about those things, right? People like to talk about. I say people, but people like to talk about Ankalaev survived 3 rounds and got to the point where Khabib wasn't taking him down in the 4th and 5th round. Justin Gaethje has a much higher wrestling pedigree than Ankalaev. You have, Gaethje's last performance against Tony Ferguson and the way he uses his range and space and controls where the fight is happening in the octagon with his footwork and his foot movement. The fact that Khabib has never really fought a straight wrestler. He's fought guys with good wrestling like Dustin Poirier or whatever, but he's never fought like a straight wrestler at the caliber of somebody as Justin Khabib in the UFC. I understand that he trains with lots of good wrestlers at the gym, and everybody says he never loses a round, even against Luke Rockhold and Daniel Cormier and all that nice fluff. That's great. But there's 2 things that I don't think anybody's talking about. One, I think that Justin Gaethje has the best coach in MMA in his corner in Trevor Whitman. Trevor Whitman is a genius, and if anybody can develop a game plan and get a fighter to utilize that game plan, to pull off an upset, it's Justin Gaethje over somebody like Khabib. I fully believe that. I mean, his relationship with Rose Namajunas and Justin Gaethje is like a video game. He's controlling the joysticks, and I think you get a different level of performance. And then 2, who's Justin Gaethje been training with for the last 4 or 5 months?
Usman.
Kamaru Usman, who is the closest thing we probably have to a dominant type wrestler as Khabib in the UFC, right? At the welterweight division, somebody at a weight class higher that's an elite pressure wrestler that always gets the takedown, can put you on the cage and do all those things. And he's been getting, I think, is probably as good a look as anybody could give him in the training room. I think he's going to be ready, and I think it just happens. And I'm going to say that Justin Gaethje gets a 4th round knockout. Boom! Down goes.
Oh God!
I am so. Right, you're right. Gaethje has been training with Usman, but a couple months is not going to take off years of training.
I'm sorry. Excuse me, sir. How long has Justin Gaethje been wrestling?
Wait a second.
His whole life.
Who does Khabib train with? Daniel Cormier.
The entire country of Dagestan.
And Daniel Cormier. He's down at America Top Team. I don't know if he has been much this camp, but
they played that funky basketball game with no dribbling. Get out of here.
He made a point. I listened to their pre-fight press conference they had this morning, and Khabib brought up a point that he's going to be tough. He said, but there's a difference in American wrestling and Russian wrestling. Russian wrestling, tongue twister. Russian wrestling is 25 minutes. He's going to go. He's going to go. He's going to go. He's not going to stop, and he's not going to get tired. And I'm not saying Gaethje is going to get tired. I think if anybody does have a shot, I do think it's Gaethje. I just think Khabib is on another level, wrestling wise, mindset wise. Even with his father passing away, he still has Javier Mendez there, which has been his coach the whole time. He's fighting basically the home court guy. Like, he's basically fighting in his backyard. Like, he's comfortable. He's in his element. And I think eventually he's just going to end up wearing him down. And I think it's going to go kind of similar to the Dustin Poirier fight, where he's going to end up finishing him in the 4th, 5th round in those championship rounds, kind of like James said. I'm going Khabib, and as much as I want to go for the American, you see my Marine Corps picture in the back there, but I just think Khabib's on a different level.
Send me location.
Yeah, smash.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think if there was no cage, like at all, like it was just like on an open field, like a soccer field or something, then they were fighting in the middle of it, no cage at all, you think Justin would have a lot better shot?
Nah, Khabib fights Sambo. They don't have a cage or a ring in Sambo. Yeah. It's a flat mat, just like American wrestling.
but like I mean, just fighting though, strictly fighting, not wrestling. You know what I mean? Because
like
what I'm
on this,
saying is,
like just on the street, like they get in a bar fight type shit.
just like just where he can't get him up against the cage. Because my point being is that, you know, Khabib really excels. His wrestling is really unstoppable. But like James Evans was alluding to, there's a little octagon in the middle of the octagon. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the fight needs to take place for Justin to have some sort of success. It's against the cage where Khabib is like really, really unstoppable, where he'll get you with those Dagestani handcuffs. He'll put his arms on your wrists and your ankles, and where even Justin acknowledged himself, you know, if he gets himself up against the cage, he really doesn't have a shot.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna get taken down. It's inevitable at that point. So it really comes down to his movement, him understanding and being self-aware that he has to stay off of the cage. Like, he understands that. So I really like Zach was saying, he's the best wrestler Khabib has ever faced. He knows what he has to do, which is stay off the cage. He's gonna get taken down. You know what I'm saying? He's going to get taken down at some point of the fight. He's gonna get taken down. How long does he stay down there? How much does his life bar go down? You know, each time that he gets back up, it's going to go down somewhat. His cardio is going to go down somewhat. How much of a different fighter is he every time after he stands back up? You know, and so it just really comes down to, can he get him against the cage? And, you know, if he's able to implement the game plan that he wants to, like you said, Trevor Whitman is a genius, an insane coach. He's been training with Kamaru Usman over there. You love to see that. I think Justin has probably, him or Tony have probably the highest likelihood of beating Khabib. But it really comes down to that game plan. Khabib got 47% takedown accuracy. Justin Gaethje's got 80% takedown defense. Obviously, that's going down. It's coming off that savage performance against El Kakui. Man, this is a tough one. I really, really, really want to choose Justin. I really think, like, you know, he has the best opportunity to pick, but I can't do it. I think Khabib probably finishes him late. Yeah, TKO. I don't see him subbing him. I see him probably getting a TKO in the 4th or 5th round, like you said, the championship rounds, when Justin's not the same fighter anymore. But I'm really intrigued by this matchup. Super great matchup. Super pumped for this fight on Saturday. And yeah, give me Khabib championship round TKO.
Fans are winning on this one.
So I'll put in my hot take for the fight, and then I have a couple quotes from Justin Gaethje that we've gotten over the past couple of weeks that we can keep talking about this fight, because it's definitely been an interesting lead up to it. My thoughts on this championship fight we've got coming up. I saw a ad for Trojan condoms just a couple days ago that Justin Gaethje was in on Twitter. He was on my timeline. He was standing in an empty ass house with nothing on the walls, and he was telling me that inside the octagon, he protects himself, and outside of the octagon, Trojan protects him. And I'm thinking this Saturday, he should probably bring the Trojans into the octagon, because he's going to lose and he's going to get beat up on the ground by Khabib Nurmagomedov, who's going to hold on to his title and go on to be 29-0. I think he's just too good. I mean, it's the same thing that people have been echoing. And I've seen a lot of people saying that they really want to pick Justin Gaethje. I know a couple of us said, I really want to pick Justin Gaethje. I don't want to pick Justin Gaethje. I think Khabib is a fantastic champion, and I think he's very clearly the better fighter. So maybe that's naive of me, but there's no storyline sway for Justin Gaethje for me wanting him to win or for me thinking he's going to win. I think Khabib is just a better wrestler on the level that's how the fights. I mean, I think he either wins by a 5th round submission or by decision. But I think he wins pretty handily if it is a decision, and people will say he wins pretty handily if it does end up being by a 5th round submission or something along the lines. He's too good.
Sweet.
Yeah, totally agree.
I'm excited.
I'm very excited. Where do we stop? Or where do we start? The first one I saw this week was I really liked. If one man can hold you down, then 2 men can. He can do whatever they want to you. I thought that was an interesting.
It's not wrong.
No. Yeah.
I guess.
If one man can hold you down.
If one man can hold you down, 2 men can do whatever they want to you. You cannot hold me down. I will get up and I will scramble in a different way than he's ever known.
Love it. I love it. Justin's mindset, man. He might not win the fight, but there's no quitting the dude at all, and he's just a workhorse.
He's
See him
the
at the
first
face-off.
guy. He's the first guy that's as crazy as Khabib. I take that back. Cocaine Connor's pretty crazy, but this is the first guy in the cage is as crazy as Khabib.
He's come across. I thought that Justin Gaethje was more like, I know that he's like regarded as the most violent man in the UFC, but watching him do these interviews has really changed my mind. I thought before like this week or the last week or two that he was kind of this like cerebral guy who just like had this violence in him. He's kind of dumb. Like,
the way you talk, I know what you're saying, but I don't think he's dumb, but I know what you mean.
Listen to him on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Like, I don't think he's like fake TV dumb. I think he's just kind of like not. I mean, I don't know, man. When listening to him talk, I just like I'm not a huge fan of him as a personality.
He's a little wrestler meathead.
He's been punched too many times in the head.
Oh, he's been punched many times.
He's hit his own head on a wall.
You'll see.
He might not win the fight.
Michael says he might not win the fight.
I'm just hoping for a good fight, y'all. That's what I really
do too.
Tested like he's never been tested before.
100%. Yeah. Build up that fight for GSP and that super fight with GSP.
I don't want that to be
in my opinion.
My kid has a track race. I gotta go. I'll see y'all later.
Zach.
I gotta get ready. I gotta get ready to bounce you guys.
All right. Sounds good.
I'll let you guys later. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, take care, mate.
Later.
Well, boys.
Whoa.
An hour and a half, pretty much, nearly.
Yeah. I mean, shit, we talked about everything, so we got the whole card. That was a pretty good one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this one, and I don't have to stay up late for it.
Right, yeah. You guys got lucky on this one. We got to wake up.
Yeah, it starts at early prelims are at what, like 4?
Yeah, 5. It's a shame though because my football team are playing during the early prelims, and I have to watch Chelsea. I might do a split screen.
Multiple screens, bro. You got your laptop over here, TV over here, projector on this side. You know what I'm saying? Sports everywhere.
Get the booze at the ready.
Right, exactly. Yeah. This Saturday morning, I'll be there with you, aspiring burner.
Hell yeah.
What time do you have to go?
9.
Mine's at 11, I think. 9 or 11.
Right. Let me look. It says right here Central Time. Early prelims start at 9:30 in the morning, my time. So that'll be interesting because I'll have to get up at like 8 and start smoking blunts and shit. Like I'm gonna have to get.
I respect that.
There you go. Hell yeah. Hey, I appreciate you guys, man. It was a good card to break down. I'm looking forward to watching the fights this Saturday. So
hell yeah. Good to see you, man.
Enjoy the fights this weekend, lads.
All right, y'all.
Take care.
I'm out.
See you.
Take care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to Ramblin' and Gamblin's whole squad breakdown of UFC 254. Coming up for you soon this Saturday on ESPN Plus. Main card starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Justin Gaethje from Abu Dhabi, Yaz Island. Thank you again for tuning in. Be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more content. We don't just have MMA content. We've got a whole variety of sports and gambling content, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon.